please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everyone, thank you for being here this evening. The meeting tonight had to be moved into our courtroom due to the early voting over in our meeting room. So I would like to make a motion to open up this evening's meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Call the question.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Cool, aye.
Okay, so moved. Just so everyone is aware, Councilwoman Poole has to leave early this evening for a family function. So I just wanted to be
Where is that?
Okay. So the first item on the agenda is the Orange County Mobile B&B back in order. They're going to be here tomorrow from 10 to 3:30. They're closed from 12 to 1 for lunch. So you do all your transactions, all registration transactions, all license, and enforcement transactions as well. So that takes care of that. Councilwoman Poole?
Yeah, so as noted before, the town board meeting is in the court because we have early voting in the main room. Early voting started on Saturday. It will continue through Sunday, June 22nd. You can vote here in Monroe, or the other locations would be at the Middletown Senior Center, the Newburgh Activity Center, the Caroline Building in the town of Goshen. The remaining hours will be Monday and Tuesday of this week, noon to 8 p.m., Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Election day for the primary will be on Tuesday, June 24th. There is a Democrat and a Conservative primary for the town of Monroe.
Okay, thank you. Item 3.3, Monroe Repair Cafe.
So, Mary, did you want to talk about that, or?
You can talk about it. I just want to add something.
Sure. So, very excited because at the end of the month, on June 28th, the Monroe Conservation Commission will host their repair cafe, the very first one ever. We have lots of people coming in to do some tinkering. We are still looking for some help with setting up and cleaning up. The repair cafe will be here June 28th in the main room, starting at 10 a.m. to about 2 p.m. Whatever it is that you need to have fixed, sewing or gadgets or wood or whatever it is, bring it in. If they can fix it, they will. If they cannot, you must bring that item away with you.
Take it back.
You must take it back.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to add was Dennis Fordham, the Monroe Conservation Commissioner Chair, still thinks he needs a little help with setup in the morning. That would be tables, receiving and talk to visitors, help them to complete their sign-in form, and guide them to the appropriate table that could fix their item. So if anyone is interested, you can text Dennis Fordham at 862-377-4493.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, ma'am.
Okay.
It's like a special thanks to Beck's Hardware and Cyrus Jewelers.
Yes.
Yes, there are 2 community members who are helping out with this repair.
Which is great.
Which is awesome.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, did you want to do the review of the resolution regarding the motorhome?
Yes. Good evening, board members and residents of the community. I would first like to thank those present here tonight in the audience, along with those who will be viewing the meeting afterwards, as this is the place to stay informed and address concerns. I'm speaking to you tonight to address the recent post on social media with regards to the motorhome park at Town Hall. The people who own the motorhome are the grant writers for the archiving grant for which the town was awarded. On April 21st, 2025, the town board approved the following resolution. Resolution was number 2025, number 196. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Monroe made a resolution allowing Warren Records Management to park their motorhome at Town Hall while they work on the archiving grant. They are expected to be on site Monday afternoon, early evening on May 5th, 2025, for approximately 63 days. They will have access to electrical connections, and the village and state police will be notified of their presence. Certificate of insurance was also provided. In addition to the grant writers, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our maintenance staff and other town departments for their contribution to this project. I'm incredibly proud of the progress that has been made as it nears completion. As your town clerk, please, if you want accurate information, contact my office. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Val.
you. Thank you, Val.
That looks fantastic down
Oh,
there.
yeah. I just had a tour. It's incredible. It's the best it's ever looked.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Great job, Val.
And the way it's organized.
Yep, yeah.
I
And
couldn't be happier with the
if
result.
you ask for a document, it's found in 30 to 40 seconds.
And we're saving the taxpayers how much money? Val?
Was the grant,
The grant was over $74,000.
I would like to look into digitization next.
That will be my next grant that I have already, not in the process, but it is already going to be applied for next grant cycle.
I'm excited for that. Let me know if you need
Thank you.
okay, item 3.4 is the expansion and longevity project at the Harriman wastewater treatment plant. We have Mary Beth Bianconi and Bob Gregg. Bob is from the county, Mary Beth is from Delaware Engineering, and they're here to give a presentation so that our residents can be more informed about what's going on. So, would like to come up to the podium? And thank you both for being here tonight and taking the time to do this.
Happy to be here. So thank you everyone for inviting us. My name, as the supervisor said, is Mary Beth Bianconi, and I'm a partner with Delaware Engineering, and we're the firm that's been working with Bob in his office now for a number of years on the upgrade and expansion of the Harriman wastewater treatment project. So, do you want to, if you hit slide, if you go to slideshow,
That's
go over to slideshow, up top, slideshow. Here we go. And then just do from the beginning.
George, can I turn it a little towards the audience?
I beg your pardon?
Can I turn it a little towards the audience?
Yeah.
You can move it back 2 times, that's good, then you guys can see it too.
The wheels might be locked. You have to unlock the wheels.
Or,
Bruta y
It's like
brutina.
those football dummies back in the day.
Yeah.
so for folks who were at the meeting that the legislature had back in March, towards the end of the month of March, this is the exact same presentation that you would have heard then. The only difference is I've updated some of the grant information because we had some grant announcements made recently. So we want to go to the next slide. So this is a summary of the project, and for folks who are not familiar with this wastewater treatment plant, that is the image that you see on the right. I'll just kind of give everybody a little orientation. Starting at the very bottom of the picture, that is the newest treatment train at the treatment plant. It was built in the 1990s. It is a 2 million gallon a day from the MLE plant. It's the most sophisticated part of this wastewater treatment plant. Moving to the center, we see there's 4 circles to our green, to our kind of bluish looking, and some structures. It's the original wastewater treatment plant, it's built in the 1970s. We call that one train number 1. The one at the bottom is train number 3. And then up at the top, I think it looks like a racetrack. 2 racetracks, one right next to the other. That's train number 2. That was also built back in the late 1970s, early 1980s. So those 3 treatment trains together make up our wastewater treatment plant. It's unusual because we have 3 different technologies functioning on one site. Normally we pick a way to do it and we just do it that way, but regulatory requirements. So this will not surprise anyone, since the 1970s, the requirements for treating wastewater have increased over time, and they continue to increase as we learn more about human health and the environment, as technology continues to advance. So we have a new permit that's been issued by New York State that includes standards that we have to meet for water quality that the existing facility can't meet. So, and that's just a function of time. So, we need to meet regulatory requirements. We do need to expand the plant. There is demand for additional wastewater flow. This plant is a 6 million gallon a day facility. It's pretty close to that at an average day now. We conducted, folks may or may not remember, we conducted about a 2-year environmental analysis on this from 2023 to 2024. We did some extensive work to try to figure out what size we should make this plant for the next, let's say, 10 to 15, hopefully 20 years. And we settled on a 9 million gallon a day expansion of this facility. And then lastly, this will not surprise folks, if people remember the late 1970s, I do, this is not yesterday, we have aging infrastructure that we need to address. So the elements of this project are a new 7 million gallon a day sequencing batch reactor, which will replace train number 1, that one in the middle. Upgrades to train number 3 to maintain its 2 million gallons a day. And we add 7 and 2, we get 9. So that will be our 9 million gallons a day. We'll also have some improvements on site to meet regulatory requirements and extend the longevity of the existing facilities. So this is not an inexpensive project. It's a generational investment in this infrastructure. We had an all-in cost of $185 million. And when we look at that number, I know everybody was just talking about that kind of money this morning at coffee at Stewart's, because everybody talks about spending $185 million. It's normal, right? It's a lot of money. And we acknowledge that that's a lot of money. But as I mentioned, this is a generational investment. If folks can figure out a way to not flush toilets and take showers, we can not do a project like this, but as long as we're going to use water, and we're going to need a wastewater treatment plant. And we're going to need a treatment plant that gives us good investment in terms of human health and the environment and supports our local economy. So that cost, when we say it's all in, it includes lawyers and engineers and construction and equipment and a whole bunch of other things. And most importantly, it has a lot of contingency built into it. And when we say contingency, what we mean is that we take the prices that we know based on the things that we know today. We know how much concrete costs, and we know how much the equipment costs, and we know how much the humans cost. And then we say, okay, a couple of years from now, building this, what will the effect of inflation be on those numbers? So we put a fair amount of money in here that we hope not to spend, frankly, right? But that we need to be fair and honest, we need to say, we need to give you kind of an all-in big picture number, that our intent is it's not a target to reach, it's our all-in biggest number we can imagine, right? So lastly, here our current status. We are in design. The goal we have in our contract is regulatory review in August of 2026. You know, it sounds like a really long time from now, but this is a very large, sophisticated project with lots of design. People think about, you know, you've seen blueprints or architectural plans. There will be hundreds of sheets and notebooks that will be filled with information about what needs to be built here to meet these needs. So it's a pretty extensive design process. And then we intend to bid the project and construct it after regulatory review and approval. And the construction time frame is right now anticipated to be 24 months, about 2 years. So we'll go to the next one. Real quick, project financing. So how are we going to pay for this? Because it's a lot of money. So you may think of the county as traditionally borrowing money to pay for large capital projects, and there will very likely be a borrowing aspect to this project. It's such a large project, and it's very rare that we conduct this type of infrastructure project where there's some amount of borrowing. But this year. So it's one of the reasons we wanted to make sure we got an application for financing it so that we can compete for that, because that's up to $25 million in grant, which is good money to get. The Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, the deadline for that was just announced recently. That one is gonna be due on July 31st. We're working our way through it. It's 25, I have this backwards actually. Water Infrastructure Improvement Act is due September 12th. I'm sorry, I put the wrong dates in here. And the other one, Water Quality Improvement, is due July 31st. Same difference. Water Infrastructure Improvement Act is 25% of the net project cost of $25 million. And Water Quality Improvement Program is up to $10 million in construction costs. So if you add all that up, our grant potential is $60 million. And those are realistic. Can we guarantee we're going to get them? No. Can we try really hard to get them? Yes. And that's what we're doing right now. So that's the game plan. If we go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about what everybody really wants to know, what's this going to cost me. So column in the center that says O&M over the top of it is the current cost everyone pays, which is about $562.34 in the sewer district, in the Orange County Sewer District. So the village of Monroe, Pearsall, Merriman, and a portion of the town of Monroe. If you're outside the district, your local community sets the rates. So that county doesn't have a way of knowing what those are. But this is in district cost. So that's about what folks are paying. They're paying annually about $562 a year. It's operation and maintenance costs. There's very little debt on the system at the moment. The capital improvement column, which is the column on the right, that's the repayment of $185 million. So that top line, total expense, $12,951,806, that's the annual payment on borrowing $185 million at market rate for 30 years. It's quite a bit of money. Offsetting revenues, because we have a county sewer district and we have outside users, we have to have a way of accounting for everybody's payments. So the offsetting revenues are the outside users, that's the portion paid for by those who are not in the Orange County Sewer District, and it's proportional, it's based on use. So the net expense that the county has to cover, the portion that the county sewer district would have to cover, is about $9,894,000. The number of units of use are equivalent to residential, single-family residences in equivalency. So if it's a restaurant, it could be 2 units of use if they use similar amount of water to 2 homes. So we boil that down just a little bit of math. It's about another $500 a year for the debt service. We add those 2 numbers together, we get just over $1,000 a year to pay for operating and maintaining the plant as well as the capital improvement. So that's a fair amount of money. We're talking about doubling the rate. And this again would be without any of that potential $60 million in grant. So if we go to the next slide, and I promise I'm almost done. This slide shows you, I mentioned all of those different grant and loan opportunities that we have. So if you remember 6th grade math and combinations and permutations, the scenarios are just that. What if we got this grant with this type of financing? What if we got 2 grants with a particular type of financing? And that's what this chart shows you, is the effect of getting grants or reducing interest rates or a combination of both. So you see the column that says sewer rent per unit remains the same. We're still paying to operate and maintain the plant, same amount, no matter whether we get grants or financing or not. The capital price goes down. Top line ones when we just covered, that's that $500 that was just borrowing, right? And I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but you can see that what happens is as you go through the different combinations and permutations of grants and loans, you start reducing what each single family home is going to pay back the debt. And you get down to about $315. So you go from $500 to $315 as a function of which kinds of grants and loans you get. So the point of this is to say, you can't say exactly what it's going to cost everybody to pay this go. We are applying for grants and financing this summer, so in 2025. The process to close on financing for a project like this is long. It's usually a year to 18 months. So we're probably closing sometime in late 2026 on financing for construction. We're at about 40% of design completion right now, and we've submitted many permit applications that are pending for various agencies who need to review and approve this. Another part of this, we need permits, but we also need our design to be reviewed and approved by the various folks who review and approve on the state side. Our target date is late summer of 2026 to get that design for regulatory review and approval. We've given regulatory review a number of months. This is a big, complicated project, although we work with them frequently, so we're hoping that when they get our information, it's not like they go, oh, we've never seen this before, we don't know what we're talking about. So, fall 26 through early 27, looking at bidding this in early 27, after we have regulatory approval, and then construction from 27 through 29. And that kind of gets back, and then I'll stop talking and ask the board if they have any questions, but that gets back to that, why do we have such a big number? Because we're not bidding this for construction until 2027. So if anybody here can tell me, how much a gallon of milk is going to cost in January 2027, we can help me get out of charging consoles. But right now, there's no good way of doing that, so we include a lot of contingency to make sure that hopefully we've included, we're not having any surprises, and we included enough funding. That is the last slide.
I just have one question, just for clarification. So if you go back to the second to last slide, Madam Clerk, the amount you're paying currently,
It's about $500.
about 500. Are you adding the right column to that? Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, so you have the operation and maintenance portion, which is power and the chemicals and the people and all of those things. That's the part that we will have some changes as time goes by on that, but we've kind of calculated that out. And then you're adding 2 columns because the other one is repaying debt.
Right,
The portion that's not covered, right?
right. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I want to kind of drive home 2 points, right? The first is that there are 2 things driving this expansion, right? One is the fact that we have aging infrastructure, and then the second is that we have additional users that we expect to join into the sewer district. So even if we didn't add on a single additional user, we would still need to do a project. It would be a smaller scope, but we'd still need to do a project like this.
Yes, well, there's also a third piece of this, regulatory compliance. The plant does not comply. It can't comply with permit, as it's 1970s technology in a 2024 permit.
So then there's 3 things.
So there's 3 pieces to this, right? So even if we did not have, substantiated demand for additional flow, we would need to be doing a project. And I can say that it would still be it's not going to be like a $10 million project. It would probably be a $100 million project. It's an expensive project. It's a big place. There's a lot there. So, but the other thing I guess we should point out is that in the county's sewer district, when a county or a town, you guys have districts, when you create a district, you're saying people who are in the district are benefited by this public improvement, and they have a right to act. Now they have to pay for it.
Right.
It's not free, but they have a right to say, I am in this district and I am growing and I want service, right? So that's baked into a law. So that's kind of above all of our pay grades, right? That's in your law. So certainly in the county sewer district, there is additional demand. And then know that when we did the environmental impact statement, and some of you may remember, we sent all of the users a letter, a census, basically saying, tell us, your planning boards, what do you think is going to happen in your community in the next 20 years?
Yes.
Are you going to be static? Are you going to grow? Are you going to have commercial activity? Are you going to have housing? What are you going to have? So folks responded to us in every single area that service said they will be growth in the community. Every single one.
Yes.
Now, different scales, but
And now that brings up my second point. So the capital improvement, the dollar amount that you arrived at, should we get no grant funding, right? That dollar amount that you arrived at based off of the current number of users we have today.
Correct.
Which means that when each of those communities that were polled add on their additional users, we're going to be adding on users who will pay toward that capital improvement, which will also reduce the cost to
That's
each
right.
user.
That's a great point. It is a relatively simple math. The demand for paying back the debt will stay the same. The number of people who are sharing and doing it
Will,
is going to increase. So it's kind of like a pizza party. If Dory and I have a pizza party, it's just the two of us, and we get 8 cookies, get 4 slices. Right? If we each invite more friends over, maybe we only get 1 slice. But it's the same math, right? So that's a really, really good point. As time goes by, because the O&M cost changes, but not radically, because it's the cost, it's just like gas, it's power, it's paying people, those kinds of things, but the debt service is the same cost through time.
Okay.
Good point.
that was it.
Anyone else?
I have questions. How many grants on the list were federal or a branch of federal?
So, can you just go back to one more pass where you are? So that's the list. So, Clean Water State Revolving Fund, the funding begins at the federal government. It is appropriated in something called WRDA, which I don't remember what that stands for. That's done every 3 to 5 years. Every state in the nation gets a chunk of that money. But the way that it works is it's truly a revolving fund. The states receive the fund, they're called capitalization grants. They get that money, they actually don't use it to make the loans and grants. They make money with the money, and then the fees and the repayment interest is what actually feeds the monster. So that one is federal. Bill is federal, but as I mentioned, this is its last year anyway. And we have no thoughts that it will be reappropriated. It was never intended to be reappropriated. And the other 2 are both state grants.
Yeah.
I will say I've been doing this for a long time. I'm on my 37th year. And so I've been through a lot of turmoil in state and federal government. And it's very interesting because while there certainly have been some challenges, every time we've emerged from a period of uncertainty, one of the things that everyone seems to be able to agree on is we should spend money on infrastructure. Because it's kind of a common thread. It really doesn't matter where you live or who you voted for. We're back to, you're going to flush your toilet and take a shower.
Unfortunately, our congressperson, I was speaking to Congressman Ryan, he described that earmarked funds that were discretionary were pulled anyway, but
They
those
were.
are completely different.
Yes, they are different. So the congressional earmarks, folks may have heard about those. So Congress had those for decades, and I don't remember which Congress took them away. It was some time ago, it was about 10 years ago. They are relatively new back on the scene. That's if people are old enough to remember sort of the famous bridge to nowhere funding, right? That's what that was. And when they brought it back, they attempted to add a lot of transparency to it. Here in New York, quite a few good projects have happened with that funding, particularly projects on the water side aimed at things like here's where there were people who were drinking contaminated drinking water because of former industrial sites that were supported by that. There was a bunch of things, but yes, there was no reappropriation of that money. The other side note, of course, is that Congress does not have an actual real federal budget in a very, very long time. They only do these things called CRs, continuing resolutions, and we're on them right now. And there is no way to know what's going to happen there. But as I mentioned, the Clean Water State Revolving Fund money is not part of the budget. It's part of this thing called WRDA, which is a separate piece of legislation that has existed. It funds things like wetland protection and a bunch of other. The courts, the Army Corps of Engineers is in there, money for those guys. There's a lot of things in that legislation. So it's in the middle of a cycle right now. There's been no action to change it yet. But again, the SRF programs have been around since the late 1980s, 1987.
I doubt that it's going to affect that one, because it's like a tank. But the question I get a lot is that many people in our district, specifically are not hooked up, but are longtime residents. So they're not, I guess, in the correct location where the district has expanded. Without, there's not new building in that area. So when we accounted for growth, I get a lot of questions of like, yes, we understand that there's going to be a new housing complex in this area, or we're expecting housing to expand by 3 or 5% each year, or something like that. But what about us? Because we've been here for 30 years. And I said that's a really good question. And they've asked me, many people have asked me if there's any prioritization and how, if you have any knowledge or recommendations, a municipality could go about doing that.
So kind of a couple pieces and parts there. So for the growth that was baked in here, we asked your planning board for growth that they thought would demand this. So somebody here made a match and said, here's what we think would go in this source. So that was on the side over here. In terms of how you get service, right? So a portion of the town of Monroe, outside of the village of Monroe, is in the Orange County Sewer District. If property owners wanted to, who were not in that area and wanted to be in the district, they could petition to be added to the district, right? They would petition the county to be added to the district. That's probably a little more complex. On the other hand, the town operates a number of districts, districts, right? So property owners could petition to either create a new district if they're not coterminous with one. They could petition to extend the district. But the kicker here is that, so that information would come to the town board, it would have an little engineering report with it that would say, here's how that service would happen, a pipe would have to go from point A to point B, it would cost us much money, here's who would pay for it. That's the key. You can get service, you have to pay for it,
Yes.
right? So it's usually that's the stumbling block, because unless you mentioned some areas that are relatively rural, the pipe costs the same whether it's going to serve 100 houses, 2 houses.
So the answer to their question that they're really asking is no, they're not included in this. They're not going to be in the expansion because that infrastructure is not there for them, and that's not. This expansion is only including where the infrastructure is already and where hookups are ready to be made.
That's correct.
Alright.
There's no, this project is just at the wastewater treatment plant. There's no going out and building things in the communities.
And as far as the capacity projection, I basically want to say how many communities can add extra on if, say, we were petitioned by citizens that they do want to join this district. It would go through us, as you said, or it would be directly to the county. And how, you would deal with that, because then you have to do a separate, an impact study or evaluate how much capacity is equal between the towns, I would assume, right?
So each community that's not in the sewer district has an intermunicipal agreement between towns, districts, and the county. Those intermunicipal agreements are all different, and they all say different things about access, cost, all of those kinds of things. So that's what kind of runs the show with respect to that. The concept here is that we're constructing a plant that we don't want to foreclose any future opportunities. So we're constructing a plant that is available for people to use. The details about where it gets used and by who and all of that, that'll be a function of when people need the service. They're going to, the communities and the county will work together to make that happen. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's not cut and dry, as in you get X million gallons per
Yeah.
day, and it is sort of like that because we did tell you how much capacity we were expecting, and then you did the SECRA, and then here's the SECRA.
So in these, yeah.
Can you expand on the future of those two additional components?
Oh, yeah. So that's a good point. Can you go back to the one with the picture of the treatment plant? I'm so sorry. I have a little quicker thing going in. But, so the center, where the buildings, the blue circles or green or whatever color you want to call them, there's those 4 circles that are offset. That's where the new treatment train will be built. In future, so that's gonna get us from 6 million gallons a day to 9 million gallons a day. In future, that treatment train that's at the bottom of the picture can be improved to add treatment flow capacity. And the treatment train at the top, that looks like a racetrack, can also be modified or changed to add capacity. So this site can accommodate upwards of 20 million gallons of wastewater treatment capacity. So our design, thank you for bringing it up.
Per day.
Per day.
Per day.
Per day. So, thank you for bringing that up. So one of our goals in deciding what technologies and where to build it, the other thing you gotta remember is we have to keep this thing running while we're building it. Because y'all aren't gonna, we're not gonna send you a memo and say, hey, no showers on Tuesday, right? So, it's really complicated. That's another reason it's kind of expensive. It's really complicated to do this on an active site. But the treatment plant is being designed, it's being future-proofed. It's designed around the concept that at some point in the future, the community may say, we continue to be, by the way, you guys are one of the highest growth areas in the state. You may continue to say, we're going to continue to grow, and we want to be able to not have things in the way. We don't want to spend a ton of money on something that then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you're going to rip it out and start over again. It's not a good expense of money. So the project has been designed around easily getting to 60 million gallons a day, and then with some additional capital getting upwards of 20 million gallons a day on the site.
Can you, because I want to move on to Bob.
Yep.
But can you just, for the record, give everyone your email in case anyone has questions?
Absolutely. So, get ready, it's my name, it's really long. So, M as in Mary, B as in Beth, and then another B as in Beth again. I-A-N as in Nancy, C-O-N-I, at Delaware like the state, engineering.com.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth. Thanks for coming down. I appreciate it. Now we'll hear from Bob Graves from the Orange County Sewer Department. Sure. Right, Deputy Commissioner Bob Graves, sorry.
Thank you.
Don't worry, you don't have to go as long as Mary Beth did.
No. She had a lot to do with.
Yes.
We always look at that as there's 3 treatment plants there, and we run 3 treatment plants on one site. I mean, 1, 2, 3. You know, that's kind of the way to look at it.
Yeah.
And we did plan this initial expansion to 9 MGP, and be smart about it, recognizing that many, many years from now, or maybe not many years, there'll be future expansion, and we don't want to paint ourselves in the corner where what we build with this first expansion we have to throw out to go further. So that's kind of the seat of the pants where we look at it. Anyhow, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the hydrogen sulfide situation at Plant Park. We realize it's an important issue down here.
Just speak up a little to make sure. the mic-
Yeah, it's an important issue down here, and in essence, hydrogen sulfide is a gas produced by sewage being collected in pipes and run down to the wastewater treatment plant that we're talking about. There are some circumstances that involve both the village of South Moulin Grove and Monroe. Both have pump stations that send wastewater to a common collector pipe that runs down into the village of Monroe. By virtue of those pump stations, the wastewater sits in a wet well for a period of time and then gets pumped up to the gravity sewer that goes down into Monroe. So the longer the wastewater sits, the more it basically cooks, if you will, and produces this gas. I'll give you a real non-technical way of looking at it.
That's what we want.
Kind of describe it. So what we have is we have this hydrogen sulfide gas in Airplane Park, where both these pump stations combine to a gravity sewer down into the park. We issue a report once a month that summarizes the daily monitoring of the hydrogen sulfide gas in the collection system itself. We have meters in the manholes that tell us what the levels of gas are. It's effective in a lot of ways. Number one, like I said, the amount of time that it's in the pipes, sitting, cooking, before it's discharged to the gravity sewer. There's that. It's also affected by wastewater temperature. So the hydrogen sulfide production is lower in the wintertime than it is in the summertime. So we're starting to see now, water temperatures are starting to increase, so we're starting to see uptick in the gas levels. All this is reported monthly. You guys all get copies of our reports. The town does.
I'm the town.
Yeah. Well, it's sent to the town, as well as the village, as well as a whole. I have one of them here. It's a long list of copies.
I don't receive copies, so I'd like to be copied on it if that's possible.
Well, it does go to the mayor, Neil Dwyer. It does go to the supervisor. So I think that it could be distributed that way.
Yes, yeah.
Anyhow, so there's a number of individuals. Brian Smith, the administrator for the Joint Operations Basin. Also the mayor at the village of South Monroe, the town engineer there, and the village engineer, as well as B2. Anyhow, so there's that daily monitoring, if you will, in the manholes themselves, and that's in those reports. In addition, weekly, we do what we call ambient testing. Or we go through the park, we have a meter, and we take readings once a week and report those levels. We've seen the market drop in that because we've taken efforts to reseal the manholes in the park, which basically contains the hydrogen sulfide gas in the system. So we're seeing a good result from that. So that's basically a summary of what we do, what the situation is. So any questions, I'm here to try to answer them. If I can't, I'll get further information to you.
Yeah, I have a question. I think you said the village of Monroe has a pump station. Did you mean Chester?
No, I meant the town of Chester and the village of South Bloomingdale. Did I say?
I think you said village of Monroe.
Well, I said,
Yeah, I was shaking my head.
what I meant to say was the village of South Bloomingdale has a pump station, and the town of Chester does, the Chester pump station. And they both, pump stations feed into what we call a force main. The water, the sewage is pumped, and that goes to a common gravity manhole that discharges down into the village of Monroe, the collection system.
And are they both using the new system now?
Excuse me?
Are they both using the new system now?
No, they're not. The new system that you're talking about is a system that the Chester pump station uses. It's a system of oxygenation, basically, that pumps soda water into the sewage, and that controls the generation of hydrogen sulfide gas. The village of South Bloomingdale does treatment by adding sodium hypochlorite, which is basically strong Clorox that controls the levels. We've been working with them, or have worked with them, to demonstrate a new system which is pumping that soda water into the sewage. That was done about 3 years ago, I believe.
2022.
2022. But the village so far has decided to stay with their chlorination system for treatment.
But it would be better if both systems, both municipalities were using the same system, correct?
I believe you're right. We did a, back 3 years ago, we did a pilot study where we got NU to bring a demonstration system to the village of South Monroe, turned off the chlorination system, hooked up this NU system, and we got very good results from it. Basically, having the same technology for both communities helps.
Thank you.
If I don't want to interrupt anyone, I'm just going to excuse myself.
Okay,
Thank you.
Can you just,
Thank you.
Sure.
can you just explain, because I don't want any falsities out there regarding the level of hydrogen
The hydrogen sulfide gas.
that comes out of, is it manhole number 11?
Yeah, there's several of them. They've been sealed, but there is some what we call fugitive.
Well, there's been some comments online that it's at a life-threatening level.
Excuse me,
which-
but the inside the manholes look life-threatening level, and no comments were made to the contrary. We repeated the countless.
It wasn't directed at you.
Okay, I'm making sure.
And
I'm used to being
Can I,
accused of spreading
can
false
you
information.
please stop interrupting?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can
In
you
terms
comment on that?
in the system itself, the levels are very high.
Yeah,
100 parts per million is not uncommon. That is a very dangerous level. However, when we have to go in the manholes, we have the proper equipment. Well, first thing we do is we purge, pump air into the manhole we're working in. And we have meters that show us when it's safe to go in there. We have protective equipment, breathing apparatus, all kinds of safety equipment for our own people that have to do work inside that system. So that's one aspect of it. The other is what we call the fugitive gas, the gas that has been detected, and people in the park have complained about it to Mayor Dwyer for a number of reasons. We have, a big part of it was to reseal those manholes. But the DEC, well, first of all, there's EPA has some data, and they say that a worker can work 20 hours or 8 hours a day and exposed to 20 parts per million. And it would not, and that would be the border from where it becomes dangerous for your health. However, 20 parts per million, I mean, it's a very obnoxious level of hydrogen sulfide gas. 1 part per million is obnoxious. You wouldn't want to be around 1 or 2 parts per million. You just would avoid the area. And those are the kind of levels we were seeing in the park, and it created an issue for people trying to use the park. By sealing the manholes, we brought that level way down. We're seeing zeros, we're seeing 1 part per million. The criteria that the DEC has given us now is 1 part per million. No, I'm sorry, 1/10 of a part per million on an average of an hour's worth of testing, ambient testing. That's the level where they feel we need to stay below. So we tested that weekly. And the meter we have is an old one. It's not all that accurate. We've now procured a new meter, which takes us down to levels of 1/10 of a part per million and lower. And we'll have that in the next few months. And it'll make our test reporting a lot more comprehensive, because the meter not only tests, but then it records it and gives us a average over a period of time, which is what we have to report to DEC. So the levels, there's 2 kinds of ways of looking at it. One is the health issue. which is that 20 parts per million for 8 hours that the EPA talks about. However, that's such an obnoxious level, it's not acceptable in a park. People are big use of the outdoors, so the tenth of a part per million over a period of time is much more realistic. Even 1 part per million, like I said, it's just, you wouldn't want to be around. So if that's what you're driving at.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, when you say we're going to get under the 10th of a part per million in a few months, you mean that because you just bought a new tool and they require you to keep an average over months that we're going to get there?
I believe we are.
Yeah, I'm asking, are you adjusting efforts because they're still above where we're supposed to be, or you're just
No, I
measuring?
want to be able to report it accurately
Yeah.
and easily. I believe we are under 10th of a part per million with the manhole sealing that we've done. This new meter will be able to test for that, get the accurate readings, and also keep a record of the readings so we can know what our levels have been over an hour, or what I'm saying.
And do you remember what figure it was when the manholes were not sealed? When the DEC, I had contacted the DEC about the issue because, I just wanted to a level that was
I don't
not
recall
just-
exactly what they were, but I
Yeah.
bet they were 1 and 2 parts per million, which is obnoxious.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's the
in
smell.
no way was that health affecting someone's health.
No, people were just reporting feeling nauseous and having burning eyes and kids with asthma. That was
They
basically
have something to smell bad.
it. Was terrible. And people on the Heritage Trail just got kind of smacked in the face with
Yeah,
it.
it's an obnoxious odor. And, it's just
My-
nasal sewage.
Yeah, yes.
Smells.
My last question is that with sealing, I guess it's 7, I don't remember, 5, 7, whichever ones we've sealed in the village. Someone's been reporting that it's been creeping up the odor in another part of the village, and I'm wondering if there are other manholes that have not been resealed. Have we checked every sort of nearby?
Merck is good, I mean, we can check, like our road crew.
Yeah.
can
Because it's gas, so if you seal off part of the system, it just goes down the line to the next available escape route. So I'm worried
Well,
that,
actually, down the line, the levels in the sewer improve.
okay,
It's as you go upstream, where there are more, towards that influent manhole I talked about.
okay, so,
And as you go downstream, there's definitely, and that's another, I think, point of confusion was, we experienced what we call iodine infiltration into the system when we get wet weather. And this past year, I think we had over 70 inches of rain. That actually dilutes the sewage and lowers the level. I've heard that some people are saying that it increases the levels, it actually lowers it.
I think it's only certain chemical reactions inside the filtration, like if it's a certain soil type, whatever it is, it has to be.
It's basically, we're diluting the sewage with fresh water, so it's going to lower the level of it.
In all the articles online, they do cite infiltration as a possible cause of it, but it's obviously more detailed than probably I'm
I would
supposed to.
say, to me, less infiltration and for increasing levels, because it's going to be more concentrated.
So if there are residents, like you said, reporting after we sealed these manhole covers that his area, he felt that it increased in odor,
Let us
who do
know.
we reach out? Yeah,
Me.
okay.
Phone you anytime.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Bob.
Sorry, just, did you address the fact that, is that a sustainable thing, is to seal up the, manhole covers?
Sure, yeah.
It's not,
It is. When we have to open the manhole to get in it, we'll have to reseal it again.
yeah, so
We
like,
do
is it-
test with the manholes before we have to have access.
people are sort of concerned that it's not a sustainable solution because it's just keeping the growing problem underground and then it's seeping out somewhere else.
Well, it is sustainable. We don't like it because there's a corrosivity issue with hydrogen sulfide gas
Yeah.
that can react with the concrete pipes and the pipe concrete manholes. So we're trying to get that whole thing reduced. I mean, we're in support of this energy system.
And just to address that as well with the Village of South Fleming Grove, I was speaking with the municipal attorney who isn't from this area, but just made a comment that
Who's that?
they'd rather not be drawn into the conversation, but they're from Ulster, so Orange County is very strange to them. They basically had asked, can the county take some kind of corrective action? Like if we are being, I don't know, if it's a nuisance odor, what actions can the municipality of the village, could they have taken if another neighboring municipality refuses to sort of take care of the byproducts of their waste, right? And then they suggested that the county district itself might be able to take an actual action, because I know we've had, speakers and visitors before who said it's difficult because we cannot actually do anything to force remediation.
We have what's called our sewer use law, sewer use ordinance, and it could be stronger than it is.
So actually petitioning the legislature to change the use laws is what you're saying?
Yeah, that would have to
Possible.
be, yeah, there's no cheap to it. So right now, we're doing everything we can, and I think we're trying to cooperate with the communities
Right.
and get a result out.
So far, we haven't seen results that
Well,
way.
I think we're seeing better results now. We've been here 6 years now.
Okay.
We're doing better than we did. That's new quite.
So is the Village of South Fleming Road making any progress of note on getting the new system?
Right now, no, it's not that I know.
I actually had called the Village of South Fleming Grove and asked if they would be receptive to a meeting, and they said yes. So if anybody in the room would like to sit
Who did you
down,
talk to?
the clerk, and she said that the mayor, she called me back and she said, yes, get whoever on the town Monroe, the engineer, whoever would like, a meeting, anyone from the county. I said, I'll let you know. That was a
Great,
couple weeks ago.
municipalities can use this. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great thing.
I think
And I know legislator too, he's been working on it, and he just can't get anywhere with it, and I know Mary Beth's been involved, too.
Katie Bell, you can try to.
Katie Benelli.
So maybe a group meeting where we all say, it really smells bad.
Not the meeting at Airplane Park.
Yeah, we'll walk.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Appreciate it. Okay, thank you, Mary Beth. Okay, item 4.1 is a motion to open the continuation of a public hearing regarding proposed application for the 2026 Orange County Community Development Block Grant. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, anybody sign up, Madam Clerk?
No public comment.
No public comment, okay. All right, since there's been no public comment, I think we should close the meeting regarding the proposed application for the 2026 Orange County Community Development Block Grant.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson.
Okay. Item 4.3 is a motion to open the public hearing regarding local law A-V1 2025 to amend Article 6, Chapter 53 concerning material used for water pipes in the town of Monroe.
I'll
Make that motion.
And I'll second.
I'll second it. Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved.
No public comment.
Nobody signed up. Okay. So, Councilwoman Bingham and myself, we have a monthly water meeting, and we had some discussions. Our attorney, Brian Nugent, could you pass those down, please? Actually, I need one, sorry.
Just one of this one?
Thank you. Our attorney, Brian Nugent, prepped a law regarding this, and then our engineers chimed in, and these are just some bullet points that he came up with. So currently, our code says class 52 ductile iron pipe is the only pipe that is allowed to be used. So we want to have some forward thinking here. Water mains proposed within town roads, rights of way, and/or proposed to be dedicated to the town will remain Class 52 ductile iron pipe. This is for the new law, these are suggestions. Second one is water main material types from mains that are proposed to be privately owned and operated may be allowed to be C900 or fusion welded HDPE. The specific details and requirements associated with each of these alternate materials is still being discussed and will be determined by the town. All water services will be required to be K-copper, with the homeowner being responsible for the ownership and maintenance of all the service lines to the main. At-grade water main markers, monuments are being considered for any and all water mains installed outside of paved areas, easement areas, etc. Additional requirements for as-built record drawings related to water mains and appurtenances, including but not limited to GIS coordinates for valves, bends, offsets, etc., is another item being considered. The general code revisions to other sections of Chapter 53 are also being considered and have been briefly discussed. And then finally, our engineer's comment was, it's been discussed that the draft of the new water code that incorporates these above revisions will be provided to the town for discussion at our 7/14 meeting. So that's where we are currently with the water pipe installation for new developments going forward.
I just want to make a comment. The first bullet about water mains proposed within town roads, right-of-ways, and/or proposed to be dedicated to the town will remain Class 52 ductile iron water pipe. That does not affect where it is already used, like in parts of Water District 14 or Water District
No.
12.
No.
So that they would be
It does not.
exempt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll clarify that with him, but that was, we had that conversation at
Yes.
the water meeting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be grandfathered in at this point anyway? What was done was done. It was
Well,
the
yeah, but
decision
if
of
we're
prior
gonna
board.
revise the code, let's really get it,
Yeah,
because
it needs to
I'm
be
not gonna
correct.
read around 20 years from now, not with,
Yes, you are.
but
Which
yeah.
means you won't be here.
I don't, yeah, but whoever will be here may not know the history, so just wanted, if it's gonna be, the code's gonna be rewritten, let's identify that. Okay.
Does this address or did we learn any more information about, they were called saddles, and the person you had spoken to, was it at New Winds?
That would be in the second bullet where the specific details and requirements associated with each of these alternative materials is being discussed and considered. And
Yes,
that
have
will
we
be,
learned anything new relating to that? Like,
no,
Okay,
it's mostly the saddles and the installation process in general.
okay, so certain installers,
Well, there was also some defective pipes that came in where, remember, it slid down
Right, but
the
it
whole
wasn't-
pipe when they were installing the actual.
And that's why I said
ladders.
installation has to really be
Yeah.
codified.
Okay, so we'll keep the public hearing open. I'll make a motion to keep the public hearing open regarding local law A-V1 2025 to amend Article 6, Chapter 53, concerning material used for water pipes in the town of Monroe to July 14th at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter.
And I will second.
Call the question.
In my,
Scankrow, aye.
Cardone, aye.
I just wanted to add one thing about the coordinates. I remember Patterson had mentioned
Yeah.
metal lining certain sensitive areas to be able to find, like a guide wire. So I just wanted to.
Part of it, that's part of the process.
Okay.
The question has been called.
Yeah. I said Richardson. Aye.
Okay. Item 5.1 is the acceptance of the June 2nd, 2025 minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any changes, alterations, corrections? Call the question.
In my,
Scankrow, aye.
Richardson.
Cardone, aye. Item 5.2, I'll make a motion, be resolved, Town Board of Town of Monroe accepts the June 9th, 2025 minutes.
I'll second.
Call the question.
in my,
Scankrow, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson. Aye.
Okay, item 6.1 is the general fund abstract. I'll make a motion, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Monroe requests approval of abstract number 25-12 of the general fund containing checks 36885 through 36969, totaling $494,141.99.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, next up is item 6.2, which is the escrow fund. I'll make a motion, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Monroe request approval of abstract number 25-8 escrow fund containing checks 2,215 through 2,218, totaling $2,040.94.
I'll
Bingham will
second.
second.
The second that?
Sal edged out there. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, next up is a cash transfer. You have the transfer in front of you, so I'll make a motion, be it resolved that the town board of town of Monroe makes a motion to approve abstract 2025-4 in the amount of $1,765,000 for cash transfers to and from our investment funds.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. All right, under new business, item 8.1, Smith's Clove Park Recreation Aids for the Youth Activity Camp, or YAC. I'll make a motion, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Monroe made a resolution approving the following recreational aids at their hourly rate for the 2025 Smith's. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Smith's Clove Park Youth Activity for seasonal employment period of July 7, 2025 through August 15, 2025, with the exception of Robin Scheckman and Jacqueline Sikoriak, as their seasonal period will begin on June 23, 2025 and end on August 15, 2025. The Monroe Joint Parks and Recreation Commission has approved these hires, and pre-approval for employment has been granted by Orange County Department of Human Resources. Do I have a second?
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. And thanks to all those that were hired and for making that commitment for 6 weeks. Item 8.2, I'll make the motion, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Monroe made a resolution approving Jessica Wendelowski for the position of Camp Health Director at Smith's Clove Park Youth Activity Camp at an hourly rate of $25 for the seasonal period of July 7th, 2025 through August 15th, 2025. Jessica has been Jessica has been approved for employment by the Monroe Joint Parks and Recreation Commission and pre-approved for employment by the Orange County Department of Human Resources.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Oh, sorry. Richardson, aye.
Okay. Next up is the Justice Court personnel request. I'll make a motion. Jack Byer has retired, so I'll make a motion that Mel Boyer is appointed to the court attendant supervisor at an hourly rate of $34.02 per hour.
Effective.
Effective retroactive to June 6, 2025.
Thank you. Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Next up is the standard workday reporting resolution regarding Councilwoman Maureen Richardson.
Yeah, I asked to table this until the state comptrollers and the NYSER office got back to my inquiry.
So I can speak on this?
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
So when there's an elected official, they are required to submit what's called an ROA, it's a record of activities. if you're participating in the retirement system. So if you don't choose to submit an ROA within your first 3 months, you're required to keep a timesheet. So this was initially discussed with Councilwoman Richardson with Jennifer Schnars when she had started. And I had emailed her on April 30th of 2024, letting her know what was entailed and to please advise which way she was going to go. Attached to that email, I had included the record of activities template that you would complete to calculate your time and the due dates for that ROA. After following up in 2 more emails recently, no response was still given. In conversing with Neisler's Pension Integrity, it was advised that Councilwoman Richardson, the resolution be filled out and marked as not submitted. Apparently, Neisler's is switching from a legacy reporting system to an enhanced system, which this updated method includes all employees, including optional employees who have previously opted out of participating in the retirement system. As part of this transition, Neisler's has identified various errors and deficiencies in the current reporting records, and these include but are not limited to duplicate entries, coding inaccuracies, missing or incomplete employee information. Part of this is also a non-submitted ROA. So I am looking for the board to accept the resolution presented for Councilwoman Maureen Richardson for the standard workday as not submitted.
Can you read that resolution?
Ask that this be tabled because I, again, spoke with Neisler's today and the comptroller's office, and they recommended making an appointment with them and told me to hold off on this because I have HR circumstances that I'm not willing to discuss publicly, so I would prefer just that you table this until the next meeting.
So in speaking with Pension Integrity this afternoon, they advise that a standard workday and reporting resolution, RS 2417A, must be drafted when an official who is a member of Neisler's and is not paid hourly or participates in their employer's record timekeeping system is newly elected, appointed, or re-elected/reappointed. In the event an official has not completed, signed, or submitted an ROA, a resolution must still be adopted within 180 days of taking a new or subsequent term of office. You should include Maureen Richardson with a not submitted ROA result. If she decides to complete a 3-month record of her work duties for her January 1st, 2024 to 12/31/2027 term, it will end up being past the first 3 months of her term.
Again, I spoke with them this afternoon on the phone after we spoke, and the recommendation that I got from both offices was to hold off, make an appointment, and I don't know who you spoke with, but the person I spoke with was Denise, so I really don't know.
Council, can you,
Yeah, so I think I addressed this in an email today to the board, but this resolution right here that's before you, the standard workday resolution, is just, the only action you're really taking is to declare that the councilwoman's workday is a 7-hour workday. That's standard for the town council. Although there is a box, indicating the ROA is not submitted on that form, this isn't a resolution about the record of activities, it's a resolution setting the standard workday.
Which we
And
already did.
the record, well, it's been done for the rest of the council people, I don't know if it was done
We
for
were
you.
all included during our resolution establishing everyone's.
Yeah, so I'm just saying there's no harm, this resolution, and the ROA can be submitted after the fact, it's not going to change anything you do tonight, this is
They
just,
were concerned that it would, so that's what otherwise I wouldn't care, there was no issue.
I don't think, look, I've seen plenty of these go in with no, ROA, it gets done after the fact, that, the controller, in my view, was always, I've seen these things 5 years out and they let it be corrected or whatever they had to do. But I'm just saying, this resolution is just saying your standard workday is 7 hours, that's it.
I'm fine with approving a standard workday, because we already did it, so I don't feel that it's necessary, although it doesn't matter. But, again, just following the direct advice of the tool, is what I said.
As a line.
So I don't really, you had told me that I should follow that line, that line.
Right, to see what they tell people,
And
okay, but
that's
that's
a measurable amount of time on hold, and then spoke with them, but you had an email address that I could use.
No, this was actually because I was having trouble filling out your ROA. So she sent me the editable PDF so that I could complete this, okay? And then I questioned her, I said, we are aware of the fact that if she does complete a 3-month record of her work duties for her January 1st, 24 through 12/31/27 term, it will end up being past the first 3 months of her term. So can she submit an ROA for the 3-month period of March 1st, 2025 to May 31st of 25? And her reply was, if Maureen Richardson has recorded her work duties from March 1st, 25 to May 31st, 25, those hours can be used to calculate an ROA result. So currently, I am requesting that the board approve this resolution to be submitted as not submitted.
We could have started with that, you got the solution, I think that was.
We've been going back and forth with this all afternoon.
I spoke to you.
I wasn't able to get too much else done.
I meant like, if you had just read that I was able to submit and that it didn't matter.
No, okay, so this email came through at 3:16 this afternoon.
Okay, no, I'm saying
After
after
we
done
had
it from
called.
the beginning, but the ultimate solutions focused thing here is that we're all concerned how we're going to solve it, and you have the solution at the end there. So if she's saying that I have a record of activities, which I do, and I can submit it, then
Right,
there's really
you
no
can-
problem.
Yeah,
The
later.
reason,
Right.
yes,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
advised
we'll
that,
just-
that they were concerned that something might be messed up if we passed, they don't have a resolution. Yes, I know, I'm saying that was the end there.
So I was advised that this should be submitted and that they would contact you upon seeing that it was not submitted and guide you with what to do.
Okay, that's,
All right, Brian, can you read the resolution?
Well, it's the actual form is the resolution, the standard workday and reporting resolution, that basically is be resolved, the town of Monroe hereby establish the following standard workdays for these titles and will report officials to the New York State and local retirement based on their record of activities. This particular form then indicates Maureen Richardson, Town Council, her term 1/1/24 to 12/31/27, that the standard workday is 7 hours. The record of activities result is blank, as not submitted, pay frequency bi-weekly, and that really is the resolution that you're making a motion on to approve that.
Read the resolution.
I'll
I
second.
was gonna second Brian's resolution.
Call the question?
Thing aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 8.5, governing body authorizing resolution. This goes back to the 2026 Orange County CDBG grant. So I will make a motion authorizing the submission of the 2026 CDB application for ADA compliant playground equipment at Monroe Park. That's going to be a new set of playground equipment along with replacing the current playground equipment that is on the right field side of the baseball field.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Thing aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye. Item 8.6 is a resolution which I will make authorizing the town board of the town of Monroe to appoint special legal counsel Ferrick Nugent McCartney, Brian Nugent Esquire, to initiate a legal proceeding under civil practice law and rules, Article 75 in the Orange County Supreme Court, to seek a stay of arbitration and to further take any necessary actions in such proceeding on behalf of the town. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, nay.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Sorry, is this for a specific case, or is this appointing as an overall special counsel?
It's for
Just approving Brian Nugent as just for a specific case.
I would say aye, versus an
You said aye?
aye. Yeah.
Okay, so moved. Next item, resolution to approve the use of Monroe Park specifically the baseball parking lot as a rest stop during a charity bicycle event, the 100 Ride.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarella, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved.
Supervisor, we skipped,
8-7.
general code.
Yeah, I got it in front of me. I know exactly I did this. Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay,
And
thank
can we
you.
just go back, who made those motions on that?
On which one?
The,
Monbascia, I made the motion.
I seconded.
Councilman Scancarello seconded. Everybody said yes. Okay, let me just firm up that resolution, sorry.
Sure.
So be it resolved, Town Board of Town of Monroe makes a resolution to approve use of Monbascia Park, baseball parking lot, 405 West Monbascia Road as a rest stop during a charity bicycle event, the 100 Ride on June 29, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Once participants arrive and assemble, they will proceed to Rhodes Marathon on School Road. All paperwork, COI, and fee have already been submitted. Separately, the organizers have informed New York State Police of the event and they sought assistance for safe transition between locations. Sorry. Okay? Understood, Madam Clerk?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then we have the general code. So there is a motion that I will make that the Town Board of Town of Monroe approve payment of general code invoice regarding the annual maintenance in the amount of $1,195.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarella, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye. Excuse me, I had a moment previously. I had heard that you wanted to appoint Brian Newman as special counsel in the case that we had already initiated. I misunderstood, and my eyesight today is not the best, so I was wondering if I could change actually my vote to nay once I realized that this is actually an initiation of a lawsuit that I'm familiar with, so I would just prefer.
So then we don't have any counsel?
It's to initiate the lawsuit, isn't it?
This is not only a lawsuit that's been initiated, we're not initiating it.
Oh, okay, can you advise
Wanna
that? Is it?
Stand on, counsel, please.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, it may require an executive session in terms of the strategy being taken, but it's a stay in arbitration that was demanded by the union. So this is to proceed in court to stay the demand for arbitration that was filed by the union.
Okay, because this just says to initiate the legal proceeding under civil. So
Right,
it's already been,
They demanded arbitration with the public.
so it is just anointing who we are, it's done. There's a lawsuit, we're anointing who.
Well, they demanded arbitration through the Public Employment Relations Board, which is where they filed, and we need to, in order to stay that, we have to file it in Orange County Supreme Court. So the overall process was initiated by the union, but the term initiating is used here is because we're seeking to stay that arbitration from going forward because of two legal reasons that it shouldn't. But that, I prefer the discussion if you want an executive session.
I would say yes, because my understanding was completely different, and it seems,
You say yes to what?
that to his question that he would like to explain, that.
If you want to go to executive session.
I mean, he's saying that he has to if he's going to explain this. So.
Yeah, if you want to know, the reasons, because the papers, need to be filed frankly tomorrow, so if we don't do this tonight.
Yeah, I would say yes, because the way that I and Councilman Bingham saw this issue was different than the rest of the board, and.
Yeah, we should talk, because this is a totally different consequence. We're not talking about the merits underlying it, we're talking about what they're asking
Yeah.
for. So,
Okay, all right, so executive.
I don't know if you want to do that at the end, Supervisor?
I would say-
Yes, do it again.
So, do you want, well, if vote. I mean, it's also up to you whether you want to bring it up again, but if for now, you can leave the resolution as is, we'll talk in executive session.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks. Okay, I have something from the floor regarding dial-a-ride. I have two resolutions approving drivers. First one is a resolution approving Jamie Miranda at the position of part-time bus driver at dial-a-ride at an hourly rate of $22.47 and a start date of June 23rd, 2025. Orange County Department of Human Resources has pre-approved Jamie for employment with the town of Monroe. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Second one is a resolution approving Jean for the position of full-time bus driver dial-a-ride at an hourly rate of $22.47 an hour and a start date of July 7th, 2025. Orange County Department of Human Resources had pre-approved Junie for employment with the town of Monroe. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. So moved. All right, next up is a short-term rental application from Camille Tokarud at 112 Osceola Park Road, SBL 58-1-1.2. She was able to be approved for the 3 variances required to satisfy the appeal pursuant to Town Code Section 40-7A5. The public hearing was scheduled with the zoning board of appeals back on May 27th. So, Mr. Nugent, I know that Ben sent that approval late. Do you have the resolution?
I actually, the reason I stepped out, I apologize, that was the building inspector calling because I wanted to confirm.
Oh,
The one
okay.
piece we were missing was whether or not he was satisfied they had met the other conditions. And he emailed and he indicated in the phone call that this applicant has met all the requirements and the variance was the last piece missing. So I kind of reworked the resolution and put in a condition, one of the conditions that be subject to the building inspector submitting a memorandum to confirm that, so we have something in writing.
Okay.
But if you want, I can read the resolution.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
you should.
somebody can make the motion. In this case, you don't have it, so unfortunately, since the board members don't have it, I'm gonna read the whole thing. I'll
Okay.
do it in my best disclaimer voice and try to move it along quick. So the resolution is a resolution approving a short-term rental at 112 Osceola Park Road. Whereas the town board of the town of Monroe, New York, received the 2024 application from Camille Tokarud, sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation, for approval of a short-term rental at 112 Osceola Park Road in the town of Monroe, also known as tax lot 58-1-1.2. Whereas no objections were received to the short-term rental application, and whereas the town building inspector initially provided a report dated August 8, 2024 regarding the application and determined that the application could not move forward due to, among other reasons, the need for area variances on the subject property. Whereas the applicant was required to pursue and obtain certain variances related to this application, including a side yard single variance and a side yard total area variance. And whereas the applicant applied for such variances to the town zoning board of appeals and a public hearing was held on May 27, 2025 before the ZBA. And whereas following such public hearing, the ZBA granted such variances by resolution dated June 12, 2025, subject to number 1, compliance with the survey submitted to the ZBA. Condition 2, that the applicant pay all fees and expenses prior to the issuance of any certificate of use or occupancy. And 3, that the applicant comply with all other applicable laws, rules, and regulations. And whereas the town building inspector confirmed via phone and email discussion on June 16, 2025, that the building department has completed the necessary inspections and the property and application are in compliance and there is no impediment to the issuance of the short-term rental permit. And whereas the town board desires to approve the application for a short-term rental permit at 112 Osceola Park Road, now therefore be it resolved that section 1, the above whereas clauses are incorporated herein as set forth in full. Section 2 pursuant to Town Code, Section 40-8F as in Frank. The town board hereby determines that, number 1, adequate parking facilities are provided to meet the parking requirement of 4 off-street parking spaces, which are provided in a manner that does not impact the residential character of the neighborhood. Number 2, no new construction or expansion is proposed relating to the short-term rental. Number 3, the structure and lot conform to the requirements of Chapter 40 of the Town Code, and that the lot and structure are not considered existing non-conforming uses or buildings. That the structure and lot conform to the requirements of Chapter 40 of the Town Code. Sorry, just did that one. Number 4, adjoining residences and their yards are generally afforded a reasonable degree of privacy from view by occupants of the proposed vacation residence or partial vacation residence by imposition of landscaping and privacy fencing. And number 5, the number of permitted short-term rentals surrounding the proposed property are not excessive in number, so as to result in adverse character impacts to principal residences in the neighborhood. Section 3 of the resolution, the town board hereby approves the short-term rental application for 112 Osseo Park Road, subject to the following conditions. 1, continue compliance with the provisions of the Town Code, Chapter 40 in New York State Residential and Fire Code with respect to the rental location. And number 2, continued maintenance of the existing screening of the property and parking area. And number 3, compliance with the conditions imposed by the town's ZBA in its resolution of June 12, 2025. Number 4, the approval of this application permit shall expire 3 years from the date of this resolution pursuant to Town Code Section 40-9. And number 5, that if the applicant intends to renew the permit after the 3-year period, the applicant submits a renewal application at least 60 days prior to the expiration of the permit. And number 6, the permit may not be transferred except as indicated in Town Code Section 40-16. And the final condition, number 7, is submission of a memorandum from the town building department confirming that the application and property are in compliance with all applicable regulations and laws. Section 4, town supervisor, any other officer or employee as directed by the town supervisor is hereby authorized to take any and all necessary actions to carry out the provisions of this resolution. And finally, Section 5, this resolution shall be effective immediately. So somebody would need to make that
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Manu, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardinal,
Richardson, aye. What if we just said no after all that?
And they would get a short-term rental.
okay. Public comment.
Liam Weishart. During my bill, I have 3 minutes. Please state your name.
My name is Liam Weishart. My address is 279 Paramount Road. I just wanted to ask the board, given everything that's going around about the town roads, the county roads, and the state roads and social media, about the board's attempts to advocate for paving the state roads over the last, 10 years. I just wanted to give the board the opportunity to respond to that, given that there are people saying that the board has failed to address the state roads. That's all. Thank you.
That's all for public comment.
I'll address Mr. Weishart's comments. This, I think it was around March, a letter was sent with the signatures of Mayor Dwyer, Mayor Mitchell, and myself, along with Assemblyman Carl Bravnick, Assemblyman Chris Ekus, and Senator Skoufis' office to the state. I've been on calls with the state DOT in the last 2 years, probably 4 or 5 times, and I actually did a survey down 17 from Museum Village all the way down to Harriman, which basically analyzed the specific mile markers, whether it was good, bad, or horrible, the conditions of the road. When you have someone who is just not reacting and not giving Region 8, which we are in, their due monies, there's nothing that can be done, and the DOT has agreed to that point. And also, the DOT has stated that Route 17M is slated for pavement next year. They would not commit to a time frame on it, but they have stated that that's the case right now. And that could change if, in the budget, Region 8 doesn't get its fair share of money. I've argued that Region 8 is an area which has a maze of roads that are extremely important, 87, 84, and 17. And those are in just as bad shape as Route 17M. I was also told that aside from Route 17M, that's not a highway. 94 and 32 are roads that also are on the list. But being on the list doesn't suffice, and it's just a shame that when you have these type of roads that are in the condition they are, and we constantly are the ones being attacked for it, and it's the senators and the assemblymen's job to get the money to us. It's horrible. I mean, we can't force them to do it, but if you get everybody in the town to write your senator's office and write your assemblyman's office, and because there are multiple assemblymen in our town, that may help to maybe push them along to get it done. I took offense to the fact that we were told when they were paving from Chester to Monroe that they were going to pave 17M through Monroe. Well, yeah, they paved it through the town and stopped at the village line. And that was obviously, posturing by, the politicians. So that's my answer for you.
Add a little bit to that, unless anybody else. Mary, anything? Anybody over there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know the supervisor went out and definitely identified, because you had to send to the state, this is where the location of the pothole is. He was out there on 17 taking measurements and doing due diligence to find all the potholes, and there were numerous, because this was before the patching was done.
Yeah.
And the potholes were really bad, really, really bad.
Ironically, when I spoke to DOT recently, I think it was either 2 days or it might have been even the next day that they were out patching again, because I saw them in front of Quick Check.
Yeah, I've also been calling, and that's not even our responsibility, I want to add. So what he's describing is actually reporting to, it's a 1-800 pothole number, so anyone at home can do the exact same thing, because it's actually not the town's domain, and we have no ability, otherwise it would never be in this condition, because we know our highway superintendents would just never allow something like that, and neither would we. So there's a bipartisan coalition of, Wayne, Supervisor Verdone, Mayor Dwyer, who have been at this and elected for years, and to sort of say that someone's relationship is going to get, the governor and the entire state senate in order. I don't think this year we were speaking with Assemblymember Brabenek, and he was describing that he fought, really hard for Hudson Valley families, that Hudson Valley legislators had, say, $100 million slated for infrastructure improvements, and it was removed. So even to say that it is within the authority of, a state senate office, in a way, it's their responsibility, and they should be the ones managing, I think, reporting these potholes more so than we should, but we're always happy to do it. But I took on that task because I had kept getting phone calls from constituents who were popping tires. And, you really feel for someone when their, vehicle is just being destroyed on their regular commute. I had spoken with the DOT, and they said they'd given it a project number just recently. So while that means, yes, good news, it's been given a project number in terms of New York State DOT, that progress can be anywhere from 1 to 3 years out. So we know for certain it's not going to happen in the next funding cycle because of what's gone on with the state budget this year. It's good that they're getting out there and repairing the potholes. All these other report forms that people are maybe trying to direct constituents submissions to, I was actually advised that that's not accurate, and that the most accurate thing is what Supervisor Cardone and myself and probably everybody in town has been doing, is calling the line. And you have to report exactly the coordinates, so it's very frustrating to receive that kind of feedback when, yeah, I think multiple people on this board have been in talks with DOT, like, can we sit down, can we have a meeting, is there anything within our local advocacy that we're not doing? And we are taking the time to go out with, I guess, measuring tapes and whatever else we're doing, walking in the middle of 17M and having constituents, write down and take pictures of where their tires would be off. So, yeah, I would just say we're doing the best that we can, and it needs repair because it can't go on like this. That stretch by CVS is disgraceful.
Okay, Madam Clerk, any other speakers?
No, that's all for public comment.
Nobody else wants to speak? No? Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal.
Second, two litigations, yeah.
Two litigations, okay. Seconded by Councilman Scangarello. Call the question.
Yeah. The other thing is worse.
I swear I almost said, when Dory responded to the next
Okay, well.
motion, I literally almost said cool eye. I was like, what am I doing?
I know, you guys are one of the few that do it that way, but it's
You ready?
Yeah.
all great for about it.
I'd like to make a motion to return to the regular scheduled meeting from executive session.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. So the previous motion stands as is, that we went into executive session with regarding the hiring of Brian Nugent's firm. And I will make a motion to authorize Brian Nugent to sign the stipulation in the Greenfeld case, essentially removing us from the
The
case.
stipulation of settlement, yeah, in the town and Village of Monroe versus Greenfeld and other
Okay.
defendants.
Stipulation of settlement in the town and the Village of Monroe versus Greenfeld, or Greenfeld versus the town and the Village of Monroe. Okay?
That's it.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Everyone have a great start of the summer, and we'll see you back here on July 14th.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Close the meeting. It's actually working.
Okay, I think you edited the video.
Okay, my mistake. Motion to close tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Thanks, George. Sorry.